Hey guys, welcome into Fantasy Football Academy 2020. I'm the host, the Dean, as always, and we have a very special show for you today. We're breaking down the NFC West, and just for that, I brought in some reinforcements. Guys, if you're in the Lafayette area, if you listen to 103.7 The Game down here in Lafayette, you might remember Dave Schultz back in the day in the morning. Well, I got the brains behind the operation, none other than guest professor for the Academy, Chet Yoder. Chet, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Hey, look, I appreciate you taking the time out. I know you're out of the area now, and you're doing big things, but I appreciate you taking time out with us and breaking down the NFC West. You're a big Niners guy, so I know that you got a lot to say about them, and we're gonna be talking about all their rivals and things. So let's kick it off. We're going to start up in the extreme north. We're going to start up in Seattle with Mr. Reliable himself, Russell Wilson. His ADP right now is 57. He's got a real easy strength of schedule this year at number 7. He's actually ranked 4th last year. So, I mean, he's played all 16 games since he entered the league, since 2013. So, and he's talking about he wants an up-tempo game plan. So if he hasn't been playing up-tempo this whole time and he's been putting out these kind of numbers, what in the world is he going to do with an up-tempo game plan?
Well, people are going to think he's going to throw for 5,000 yards instead of the regular 4,000 Mata he's been, shulling out. I mean, these past 3 seasons, he's been unbelievable. I mean, top 3 in passing TDs. He's a 30-plus touchdown guy, and he only threw 5 interceptions. 5 last season. The guy is Mr. Reliable. I don't understand why he gets so disrespected or overlooked as far as the NFL is concerned, but fantasy, he is an automatic lock. He's obviously going to produce. He's going to carry your team to titles. I know that because I'm a 49ers fan, and the guy gives me fits. The thing about him, though, that makes him so dangerous is his legs. He can continue to move up and down the field at a great pace. So his rushing yards are also going to give you great fantasy points. I think he is a QB1 guy.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna give you. We're gonna play a Who Would You Rather game real quick. We're gonna play Who Would You Rather, Dak, Kyler, or Russell.
See, Dak, I just don't believe in Dak right now. I really don't. I don't know where his head's at. He's thinking about $30-40 million. He wants that big contract. And then you think about who was the other guy?
Kyler Murray, your new nemesis down in Arizona.
He looks okay. I think he's got upside, but if you want automatic points, automatic wins, you want the guy, the surefire in the bank. Think about Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning in their prime. Remember when they were the big fantasy gets? That's where Russell Wilson is. I'll put him in that league, really. So give me Russell Wilson all day.
Awesome. Yeah, I like Russell. I think that a lot of people are going to fall in love with Kyler and all the hype that's being put around him and having D-Hop now. We're going to get.
He's got D-Hop.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a little bit. So, all right. So Russell's going off the board normally about QB4, QB5. So, of course, behind Mahomes, Lamar, a lot of people are putting Dak and Kyler ahead of him. So if you had a choice and you were picking, you would go Mahomes, Jackson, and then Russell, or would you put Russell even above one of those guys?
I would probably put Russell 3 behind those two. I mean, obviously Mahomes had just an unbelievable year, and he's not going to be slowing down. Kansas City didn't really drop the ball. They have a lot of their pieces in play, so they're going to make a deep run. Lamar Jackson is a question mark. He has said some things in this offseason that really kind of surprised me. He's overlooking teams. He obviously overlooked the Titans in the playoffs, and he admitted that. So I'm kind of concerned with is he a flash in the pan? Does he kind of, dare I say, have a little Colin Kaepernick decline maybe in him? But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I mean, he should be good to have another great year. I'll put him 3 though.
Okay.
And also look at where Russell Wilson's thrown to. He's got Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. He's also got Carlos Hyde. This is going to be kind of the new piece for Seattle on the backfield, and if they can get him out in the flat, I think Russell can be that more dangerous.
Hey, look, you bring up Carlos Hyde, that rolls right into my next player, Chris Carson. Now, I drafted Carson. Was telling you before we started. I drafted Carson last year in the 4th round. He's not making it that far this year in a lot of these mock drafts that I've been doing. He's been going earlier than that, and a lot of people they kind of forget that Carlos Hyde was the RB1 in Houston. So he's coming in, and Chris Carson's coming off a hip injury. He also had a spell there right after. As a matter of fact, I dropped him. I was able to trade him on the upside last year before he started having fumbleitis and gotten Pete Carroll's doghouse. And Seattle was throwing around the idea of bringing in Devontae Freeman. They were trying to bring back beast mode. I mean, so how much confidence do you really have in Chris Carson being able to be that early season running back that we saw last year, where he was beasting out last year?
Yeah, I was actually really surprised about what I saw from Chris Carson, because Seattle really kind of lacked that running game since beast mode. They didn't have that uphill kind of runner, that downhill kind of slope kind of guy, that big back behind Russell Wilson. I believe in Chris Carson. I like him in the 4th round. I'm a little surprised that he's going up though there, Dean, because I like him in that 4th round. I don't know if he's that hot of a pick. He's not obviously a top flight running back, but he's a guy that's obviously going to give you 1,000 yards rushing, and that's what you need at the very least to really carry your fantasy team.
Yeah, he finished out last year, and for the viewers that are out there that watched my shows before, I'm not a big stat guy. I'm more of an eyeball guy, okay? Because I've watched, and I've told people this before, I've watched other channels that they argue the case for one guy, and they'll throw out all these stats, and you'll look at it, you watch it, and you go, that makes sense. I can see that. But then the exact same player, you take a whole different set of stats, and you can argue the exact opposite point and still make it make sense. So
stats can be deceiving.
Oh, extremely. So I believe here at the Academy, and just so you know, Professor Chet, this is for the beginner. This is for the guys who are just getting into fantasy football, or for those who really aren't that experienced. So we're trying to baby step them. We're trying to show them the pitfalls to avoid to have success in fantasy football. And this is one of them, guys. Don't overanalyze. Look at this. Look at the stats and use them as a tool, not a guide. Okay. You want to use them and kind of say, okay, well, it looks like it's good there. What's the situation around them? I'm a big environment guy. What is the environment around the player that we're talking about? And right now, Chris Carson, the environment around him can be kind of murky. It can. You got the hip injury on a running back. That's some serious stuff.
Yep.
When you have a team that's showing you that they're going out and they're looking for different players to back you up, and not just guys who can kind of fill holes. We're talking about guys who can take a workload. They brought in Carlos Hyde. They were talking about Devontae Freeman. Guys, these are former RB1s for their former teams that they're talking about. These aren't guys who are scared of a workload. So something to think about when you're looking at Carson. Again, I believe in him later, like Chet said.
Yeah.
But as high as he's going, I mean, he's got an ADP of 27 right now. So you're talking he's going in the 2nd round.
I'm a little surprised by that. I wouldn't jump on him 2nd round. I really wouldn't. I would pass on him.
I think there's other guys out there that you can do. And just to play the who would you rather game real quick, Carson, Gurley, or Fournette?
I'm a believer of Leonard Fournette. I don't know why. I think he's going to have a big year. I really do. And I don't really want to look at kind of how he entered the NFL, because I know it was kind of like, it's like, where's that, LSU Tiger blood in him? And I think maybe this upcoming year he could have a big year. I would take Fournette out of those 3.
I would
Gurley,
too.
And Gurley's battled these health issues. He's in exactly always been healthy, and he's kind of, his head's been a little inconsistent. His play's been a little inconsistent. I still like his rushing touchdown number if you're Gurley, but I don't know. I'm going to go with Fournette.
Yeah. The only reason that I would take Gurley over Fournette is I'm scared of the arthritic knees in Gurley, but I don't see them having to use him that much because everybody already knows that it's Julio and Ridley, and they brought in Hurst from Baltimore down to Atlanta. You know that Matt Ryan's throwing the ball all over the place, so you have to protect against that. Gurley's not going to see stacked boxes, so he's not that kind of runner. He's not that, between the tackle, bust you in the head kind of runner. He's going to be to the outside. He's going to be running like that, especially with the knees. The thing that scared me about the knees was that when he was let go from the Rams, he signed one day after he got released. If he had any kind of belief, any kind of expectation within himself that he was worth more than a $5 million a year, 1 year prove it deal with Atlanta, going to the South where they got defenses up the wazoo, you're going to have to face New Orleans. You're going to have to face Tampa twice a year. I mean, those aren't any defenses to sneeze at. So,
Well, think about it, though, Dean. Gurley went to Atlanta. Remember where he played college football? Played Georgia. So, I mean, obviously this was kind of that home move for him. So he's getting comfortable. I'm not saying he's going to have a bad year. I just like Fournette just a little bit more. Like I said, the knees just scare me.
The knees scare me too. And the positive thing that I would have to say about Fournette, and some people are viewing this as a negative, is that he voiced early in the preseason or in the offseason that he wanted Cam Newton in Jacksonville. He didn't want Gardner Minshew. He wanted Newton. He went out there and publicly called for Cam to come to Florida. Okay. We all know, of course, he went a little further north.
Oh, boy, did he ever.
The Pats. So that's a whole different show for a whole different day. The episode that I put out just before this with the mock draft for D-Money, that actually has a little breakdown of my Cam Newton take. So you go back, watch that, take a second, look at that and see what you think. But with Fournette being driven to get out of Jacksonville, he's kind of got a lot of incentive to do well.
I agree. No, I agree. I agree.
All right, so let's move on. We're going to go to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Look, Tyler Lockett was the man for a while in Seattle, and then DK Metcalf shows up. And actually, I mean, Tyler actually did better with DK than he did the year before DK got there. So who do you take? Like, do you take the young up-and-comer? Do you take the guy who's got chemistry with Russell already? One's going DK's going 37. Tyler Lockett's going 44. So, I mean, the fantasy world right now is showing that DK is the man to have in Seattle, but not by much.
Yeah, it's a coin flip, Dean. I like Lockett more because I like his chemistry a little better with Russell Wilson, but that's just from my eye. I watch a lot of Seattle Seahawks football, obviously see how they're doing every week because I'm seeing how they do really because I'm a 49ers fan. But it's really a coin flip. So if you're thinking about those are the two main targets for Russell Wilson. And don't forget, Greg Olsen is now in the mix. That's the newcomer for Russell Wilson, but he's 35 years old. So I don't know if he can kind of resurrect his catch playing abilities. Russell Wilson can make it work, though, with Greg Olsen. Watch out for him to take away some of the targets from DK Metcalf and Lockett, but not all that much.
Now you bring up the old man Olsen. I say old man. I'm 10 years older than Olsen is. So, but
old man in football.
Will Disley was out there. He's only played 10 games in 2 seasons. So. You got Will, and we saw kind of flashes with him and Russell throughout the season, but there was no real chemistry there. And Olsen's bounced around a little bit. I mean, he was in Carolina, he was in Chicago. Yep. Now he's trying to grab hold of the twilight years in Seattle.
He's not the same player, but Russell Wilson can make him better and maybe bring him back to maybe somewhat of that same form he had in Carolina.
Yeah, so look out. He like Professor Chet said. I mean, he might snag some touches here and there, but when you get down to the goal line, you get down to the red zone, 10 yards and in, are you really looking for anybody other than your tight end or your running back? I mean,
Right.
I really don't see him targeting DK or Lockett in those situations. I think they will come in. I think if they bring in Olsen, they'll bring in Olsen and Disley, do that 12-man line, and the 12-man personnel formation and try to bowl it in like that. So,
Right.
All right. So that's Seattle. So let's take takeaways from Seattle. Hey, Russell is a lock. Chris Carson got a couple of questions. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, you're flipping a coin. So whoever you have remember, guys, trust your gut feeling. Okay, if you got a gut feeling, it's for a reason. I had a gut feeling last year with Lamar Jackson. That turned out really well.
Right.
Okay? So, take the advice and trust your gut. Next, going to what I think could possibly be the new Patriots-type offense in the West for fantasy football. Guys, you remember a few years back when the only player that you wanted on the Patriots was Tom Brady because they spread the ball so much? We got that forming in Arizona. There are so many targets. You got Fitzgerald, who came back for another year.
A little older.
Christian Kirk, who was the up-and-comer. He was slated to be the number one guy, and then all of a sudden, what? They pulled the trade of the off-season and brought in D-Hop and shipped out David Johnson. They brought in Kenyon Drake. What is it about guys getting away from Adam Gase? If they get away from Adam Gase, they just blow up.
Arizona is making moves to not only be a better team, but to go for it. They're going for something big. This NFC West is stacked. I mean,
it's crazy.
The Niners came out of it last year. All four teams can make a legitimate case in how they can win it this year. And Arizona's right up there. Kyler Murray had a fine rookie season, and I think he's only going to get better.
Definitely not. He actually does have, by strength of schedule, he has the 7th hardest strength of schedule for a quarterback. So he's got a challenge in his sophomore year. His ADP right now is 54.
I know you hate stats, Dean. He took a league-high 48 sacks last season. He cannot afford to get beat up back there because all of a sudden, when you get beat up back there, you start getting shy and you start ducking some interceptions. I mean, you start throwing picks, you're throwing ducks. So he's got to get some protection on the O-line. Arizona believes that they've made some improvements. We'll see. The protection is huge. Everybody always says, it starts with a quarterback. No, it starts with an O-line. And you can ask the 49ers. We'll talk about your boy Trent Williams in a little bit. But Arizona's got to get some protection for Kyler Murray to be great. But obviously, D-Hop, they got all the weapons. I mean, Andy Isabella is a guy who's really young, and he could be another good, legitimate young target. The Niners play Arizona in Week 1, and I'm not marking it as an automatic win. That's for sure.
Yeah, look, his second year in Cliff Kingsbury's offense, and having Kenyon Drake there for a little bit. I mean, we saw Kenyon Drake come in and like Week 1, the man basically stepped off the plane, went to the stadium, and put up a monster stat line for fantasy football. Okay? So it was nuts how well Kenyon Drake fit into this system, and having weapons like Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk, and now you got D-Hop. It's nuts. And I mean, I don't even know what to say about this team. I mean, Kyler Murray just running all over the place. This guy, he has we can see the confidence, and when you put that with the comfort of another year, I mean, he has possibility of putting up a top 5 performance in fantasy. So let's go on now. My boy Kenyon Drake. I love Drake last year. I actually acquired Drake off the waiver wire after he left Miami. Nobody in the league was looking at this when he left. I was like, ooh, Kenyon Drake, he's going. To be perfectly honest, I was snake bit by David Johnson a couple years back with the wrist injury. Killed me.
Sure.
And it kind of stood me off of DJ. I am a little higher on DJ this year because he's going in and taking over for Carlos Hyde, who actually had like 250 carries. So that's vacated. That's like the highest vacated carries in the league. So he's got to make up just on sheer volume. He's got to produce. But
yeah, no, he's great. I mean,
yeah. But with Kenyon Drake,
I've always been a Kenyon Drake guy.
Here's my question for you: is that could this be an Alvin Kamara of 2018, where he scored 18 touchdowns and had over 800 yards? Could Kenyon Drake fall into that role with Arizona?
I don't think he can, because you just mentioned all the targets he's got. I mean, look at all the numbers that DeAndre Hopkins is going to put up. Larry Fitzgerald's still in the mix. Obviously, you got Kirk, and then you got this new guy, Andy Isabella, who I really like, one of the youngsters on Arizona. So there's a lot of targets there. So I don't think he's going to put those numbers up like Kamara did, because look at the way the Saints were built, and look at the way Arizona's built. It's similar but different. I think there's a lot more targets in Arizona. They got the star-studded cast at the wide receiving core. So don't look for Kenyon Drake to have that Alvin Kamara year. Look to have him have a good year, but he won't have that great of a year.
Now, as far as D-Hop goes, how bad does D-Hop coming to Arizona, how bad does that affect the fantasy value for Fitzgerald and for Kirk? I mean, these guys basically fell off the map as soon as D-Hop went over there.
Yeah, I mean, D-Hop's look at his numbers. I mean, last 5 years, he's averaged over 100 receptions. He's got 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, great average. You're right; it's going to affect everybody. So it makes it interesting if you're a fantasy football owner. Obviously, out of those guys, who do you take? You obviously jump on D-Hop. You don't jump on Fitzgerald. He's getting older, so he's not going to be, obviously, the integral part of the team once he once was. Christian Kirk, obviously, going to lose some touches as well. I still like DeAndre Hopkins as your best receiver to grab on Arizona. That's no questions, no doubt about it.
Now, could this be like with D-Hop coming there, do you think that could be like a Brady Moss situation where that he just locks in on him for a season?
I have to see. That's the big concern. I have to see the chemistry he's going to build with Kyler Murray. So it's a little bit interesting, to see where Kyler Murray's going to be. Is Kyler Murray going to go in one of those proverbial sophomore slumps, Dean? We have seen the sophomore slump rear its ugly head at the wrong time for a lot of fantasy football owners. It would drive me crazy just as much. I'm sure it's driven you crazy in past years when you go for those sophomore guys. So I have to see the chemistry build, but obviously DeAndre Hopkins is the guy you want to grab out of this class in Arizona.
Now, with all these targets flying around, is there any fantasy value at the tight end position for Arizona?
I don't see it. I mean, I really don't. The way that Kyler Murray's been really kind of moving this offense, I don't look at Arizona really as any kind of tight end significance. I really don't.
Cool. Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one. Definitely. We're gonna go. I'll tell you what. Let's just play real quick. Kenyon Drake. Who would you rather? Would you rather? And we'll use a couple of the guys that we used before. Gurley, Drake, or Carson?
Give me Drake.
I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that one. There's no argument here. I mean, you got limited injury risk. You've got extreme upside for targets for the a high-powered offense. I like it. Now, speaking of high-powered offenses that have fallen the hell off, okay, the Rams. We're talking about the Rams. Look, I told you before we started the show, that I had drafted Jared Goff as my starting quarterback last year. Needless to say, that did not follow through. Okay, he just fell off. And I mean, I've been in some mock drafts here recently where Jared Goff hasn't even been touched. So he lost Gurley. He's never played without a power running back, without any kind of focal point. They brought in Cam Akers, who probably has the easiest way to an RB1 of any of the rookies out there. Okay, because all the other rookie running backs that were taken, Swift does not have a clear-cut shot to the number one. He's still got to vault over Kerryon Johnson. You got Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis, who's got to beat out Marlon Mack. I mean, Cam doesn't have anybody in front of him. So they shipped out Gurley. They brought in Cam. The team believes in Cam Akers, and they're going. I mean, I'm looking at boxes here where they're just going to be dropping back and telling Jared Goff, "I dare you to beat us. You're not. We don't believe in you. We're not going to. You got to prove it to us."
Well, here's the problems if you're talking about Jared Goff. Obviously, you threw for over 4,600 yards. So, I mean, the yards were there. I'm sure you didn't like the interception total. It was a little high at 16. And, of course, the touchdowns dropped. He only had 22 last year, and he's got to be good for 30.
And here's the other thing about the INTs. If you look back, there were 20 interceptions that were dropped.
Right.
He could have – you thought that Jameis Winston had problems with a 30 and 30? At least Jameis threw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. Yeah, he had 30 interceptions, but you're talking about Jared Goff. He could have possibly had 36 interceptions.
This is interesting because the Rams were really the high favorite last year to win the NFC West. I mean, everybody thought they were automatic. He still has his targets, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. Guys are good. Tyler Higbee's a good tight end. So he's got his targets there. They traded away Brandon Cook, so they're kind of making some changes here. I can't think Goff's going to have that bad of a year that he had last year. The running game does concern me. They did put a lot of investment in Cam Akers. They also have Darrell Henderson Jr., Malcolm Brown. They kind of have this new running back committee where they're trying to figure it out, and that could hinder Jared Goff. Here's the biggest problem with the Rams that they have not addressed. They have a spotty offensive line. He needs the protection back there, and that was a result for that interception total being high. When you're in trouble, he can't get out of the pocket. His legs suck. Jared Goff's legs suck. He doesn't move his legs. He's not like Aaron Rodgers. He's not like Cam Newton. He's not like Kyler Murray. Guys can get away from the pressure. He's a guy that really kind of gets pocketed up over there, so he needs protection. And I think the Rams got to start thinking about that. And I think Jared Goff should have 25 touchdowns maybe, over 4,500 yards passing. He's a solid quarterback. Obviously, is he QB2, QB3?
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, the interception total scares me a little bit. I mean, at least Jameis had a legit reason. He went and got, LASIK eye surgery. So, I mean, unless Jared Goff is coming out going, "Hey, guys, my eyes just weren't right. That I was throwing to the wrong guy." Yeah, no kidding. We know that.
Let's not compare Goff and Winston anymore. Can we stop doing that, Dean?
Please? Okay, all right. So with the speed, are you going to compare him to, I don't know, Brady, who's got 20 rushing yards in his year career or something?
Right, or my boy Jimmy G, who we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah,
run a little bit. Can't run much, but Goff's still a good fantasy guy. Dean, let's not just kick him while he's down. I mean, he's a guy that you're going to have to grab at some point, and if he slips down as far as you think he is, how do you not grab a guy that's going to give you that many yards, 25 touchdowns? Maybe the interception total can go down a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully. And we're talking about McVay, my former OC.
That's right.
I mean, hopefully he can go back and work his magic and do a little tweaking here. But with Cam Akers, I mean, Cam coming in, I like Cam Akers as a get. I like the upside.
Where in your draft are you picking up Cam Akers? That's what I need to know, Dean. Because if you're taking him early, I need into your league.
No, it's later. It's going to be later. It's later. But I like Cam. I like Cam Akers. So like I said, I just had a gut feeling. I had a gut feeling about Lamar Jackson. That worked out. I'm going on a gut feeling with Cam Akers. It's not somebody I'm reaching for here.
Sure.
But if he falls and I've got my spots locked up, I went RB. If I went RB heavy in the first, and I'm got a bench spot to fill up, yeah, I'll take a flyer on him.
Sure, not a problem with that.
Now Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. I mean, we got one, and I don't know why, but like everybody hype. You hear a lot of hype about Robert Woods, but then Cooper Kupp's ADP is 30 and Cooper Kupp's ADP is 49. I mean, so.
Well, Cooper had 10 touchdown receptions last year. Goff liked them more. I don't know if it's anything personal between Woods and Kupp, but Kupp was the guy making the touchdown catches. So I like Kupp a little bit more just because of his chemistry with Goff. And I think that's people need to understand is that you're not looking at the better wide receiver who could be Woods. You're looking at the receiver who has the best chemistry with that certain quarterback. And that's one thing we're trying to teach here in the academy is that sometimes chemistry outweighs the better receiver at some times.
Look at New England and Julian Edelman with Tom Brady. I mean, there was nobody else other than – I mean, look, I like N'Keal Harry here with Cam Newton. I mean, has Cam really ever had anybody of that size and talent to throw to? I mean, when you look back at Cam's time with the Panthers, I mean –
Steve Smith?
Yeah, Steve Smith was like – he's
short. Right.
So, I mean, yeah, it wasn't – I mean, he could hop in the slot and Cam could hit him over the middle, and then he could just do what he does with his legs. But there was nobody that Cam could just chuck the ball up to and go, here you go get it.
Yeah.
A la, your boy back in the day, Joe Montana with Jerry Rice. I mean, Jerry was like 6'6". Yeah. I was fortunate enough to meet Jerry Rice one time. And I also met my boy Darryl Green. I'm telling you right now, the size difference, they didn't call him the Smurfs for nothing. Okay? Darryl was shorter than I am, but every time they faced the 49ers, he would shut down Jerry Rice. I mean, you hardly ever saw Jerry have a huge breakout game against the Redskins with Darryl Green on him. So, that talent, the talent and the determination there, that was amazing. But like I said, like Professor said, that chemistry with Kupp. I've had Kupp the past couple of years. He kind of hurt me when he went down.
Sure.
He went down. I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do now? And then I think he got hurt halfway through a game that I had started him, and then there was one game where he put up a donut, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! How in the world do you not even throw to this guy? It was just crazy. So
Rams were quite an enigma last year.
I don't know. So it begs the question: what Rams team are we going to get? Are we going to get the one of 2018 or 2019?
I think it's going to be a mixture of both.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's more of the 18, less of the 19. I'm just throwing that out there. Now, with that said, we've talked a little bit, and viewers, I might have mentioned that my league of record last year, my wife actually beat me in the title game, and I'll admit to that. But if I'm gonna lose to anybody, I want to lose to my wife. I mean, let's be honest here.
Yeah, it's still stung though.
It's still stung, but the thing is that she only listened to my advice throughout the whole season. So if that gives you any kind of warm fuzzy inside that you're listening to the right show. Okay.
Why do I get a feeling that Amanda isn't a graceful winner?
No, she is.
Okay.
She actually has done nothing for fantasy football until they put out the magazines because she wants to study and stuff like that. So she's going to do that. But she went out and picked up Tyler Higbee week 12 right before he blew up.
Wow.
Yeah. So here's the thing. From week 1 to week 12, and I had to go look this up, he had no game over 5 points. That's crazy.
Right.
On week 13, he went 16.7. 11.6, 11.1, 10.4, and 14.4 on week 17. And week 17, I throw out just for the simple fact that if you are smart and you listen to one of my episodes earlier talking about what kind of draft to be in, don't be in a league where they do the championship on week 17, guys. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. Okay? But for that 4-week stretch, he was an absolute monster tight end for fantasy.
Oh, no, he was. I mean, he's a guy that you want to pick up. I don't know if you're going to pick him up early in a draft, but, I mean, I think if you slip down the 6th or 7th round, I think you got to grab him.
Now, here's the thing. Gerald Everett. I mean, Gerald Everett, before Higbee made this move, Gerald Everett was the guy at tight end for the Rams, and McVay even came out and said that he thinks he can use Everett in a better way, better than Higbee.
Yeah.
So you're talking – the coach is saying this. I mean, if the coach is coming out and saying that I can use Everett over Higbee, I mean – if there's you said before, if there's chemistry with Higbee, why go to Everett? I mean, if it's going to be a forced thing, do you really want either one of these guys?
Well, you look at McVay, I think he's a guy that likes to use a lot of pieces into his offense. So maybe he's just trying to keep Everett on board to keep him mentally right and maybe use them all.
True. Time will tell. Now, we saved the best for last.
I don't know about the best.
Well, I mean, hey, look, I'm trying to give you a bone here, okay? I mean, they did make it. They did get to the Super Bowl, so I mean, yeah. I don't know what. I think they forgot to get off the plane in the Super Bowl, but
don't get me started on that, Dean. Let's not get. I don't want to blame Kyle Shanahan, but I will blame Kyle Shanahan.
All right, hey, look, you're in the same boat as Seahawks fans when they should have ran the ball against the Patriots. So, I mean, is it just an NFC West thing? Is that what it is?
It's a Kyle Shanahan thing for me. So let's not get started on that.
All right, so look, we're gonna start off first, of course, with your boy Jimmy G. He's got 10th strength of schedule as ranked 10th for quarterbacks. ADP is going 135. Played his first full 16-game season last year, just shy of 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Is he any more than a streaming option at this point? I mean, do you really trust him to anchor your fantasy league?
No, I don't. I mean, he threw for almost 4,000 yards last season, 27 touchdowns. The numbers are okay. He just doesn't have a big game because of Kyle Shanahan's run-heavy offense. Now, we'll get to a little bit of that, obviously, Raheem Mostert, and there's a little bit of drama there on that running back committee for the 49ers, but they're still going to kind of focus – or not kind of, actually, they're going to focus their offense on this run-heavy scheme. They got your boy Trent Williams now on the line, so they made their offensive line – even bigger.
We're not talking about Trent. I hated losing Trent, trust me.
And I know you hated to lose to my 49ers.
Oh, yeah. I did. As soon as he went, I'm surprised I didn't get a phone call or something going, hey, we got him.
He's not a fantasy guy. I mean, if he slips down, you might want to grab him, but he is not your top flight quarterback. And if anybody thinks about getting them, they better get their medication checked because he's just not the guy. I mean, what do you think?
Well, like I said, I view him strictly as a streaming option.
Streaming option.
I look back at his games. He had some monster games against Arizona last year. Okay, he threw for 8 touchdowns between the two games. He was 4-1 and 4 in another. So I mean, his total against Arizona's defense. I mean, if he's got up against a bad defense, here's the thing though. I mean, they lost Emmanuel Sanders. So
right.
Debo's got to step up. Does he do that? That's the question.
Yeah, Debo can step up. I don't know how significantly he's going to step up. Watch out for Kendrick Bourne. Here's the biggest sleeper in the fantasy football draft. Remember his name, Jalen Hurd. The guy got injured last year. He had a back injury. This guy is one of the most dynamic receivers. He's 6'5", 230. He's a beast out of Baylor. They expect this guy to be the guy. They expected this guy to be the number one guy. He's a smart receiver. I think he's going to be the top flight receiver in this 49ers offense. That's why they're not too heartbroken over Emmanuel Sanders. But Debo and Kendrick Bourne will balance it out. And then you got a guy named George Kittle, who's obviously does everything for this team, and obviously a top flight tight end. But we can get to him in a little bit.
Now we kind of brushed against the run game, so let's dive into it. We got Mostert, Coleman. I mean, really, who else is there?
Right. Who they're going to probably focus on is Jerick McKinnon. This is a guy they picked up from Minnesota. He's battled injuries the last couple of years, but Kyle Shanahan has invested his kind of livelihood in this guy. He's really liked him from the get-go. So Jerick McKinnon is expected to be fully healthy going into the season. They expect him to be maybe the main guy. I mean, if Raheem Mostert does come back, which I believe he will, they'll work it out. You do got Tevin Coleman. You got this running back by committee, which I don't think is a bad thing for the 49ers because they really made it work last year. And expect Jerick McKinnon to be a name that you might want to watch out for. Another sleeper because he has been injured the last couple of years who could have that breakout year. You got to watch out for those guys.
Now, here's the thing I got to ask you about Raheem Mostert is Raheem is 1 year in on a 3-year deal crying about, his contract because he says he's getting paid as a special teams guy. You're 3 years in. Is there really any kind of bite to this? Is there any kind of thing he's still under contract.
He's still under contract. That's what John Lynch has been trying to reiterate to him. He's making somewhere almost $3 million, about $2.8 million a year. He was supposed to be a special teams guy. They tried him out as a running back, and the Niners are the first team to give him a fair shake. I mean, he has really kind of been tossed around, never really been given an opportunity. I don't know why he's complaining. He is mad that Tevin Coleman's making a little bit more money than him, but Tevin Coleman was projected to be obviously a big-time running back for the 49ers. I think they're going to work it out because the Niners are not going to trade him.
Yeah. I don't see it either. I don't see a whole lot of traction on his part to make this thing have any kind of movement. His agent threw out the fact that he led all running backs in yards per carry or average yards per carry last year. It's like, really, like your agent's got to make this public, like it's not already out there. I mean, it seems like kind of a desperation move as kind of, to put pressure. Well,
I think with Mostert, you look at that NFC Championship game. You can ask your wife. She saw a lot of him and a little bit on the backside because he was running a lot. He ran all over Green Bay and over 200 yards rushing. It was a memorable game for him, and obviously he had that run of a lifetime. But, I mean, it's 1 year. It's a flash. Do you have to pay him more? I don't think John Lynch believes he does, and I don't think he will.
I don't think so. Now, look, there's not a whole lot to say about this last guy that we're going to talk about, George Kittle. You pretty much said everything when you said he does it all. I mean, this is the guy that you want. Here's the thing is that for Kelsey or Kittle, and I've said this in episodes before, if you want them, you are going to have to pay up. These guys are going second, third round, and they're being drafted like RB1s. But here's the thing is that I even went back and I looked at Kelsey. I mean, Kelsey is hands down not hands down, but he's the overwhelming favorite to be the number one tight end off the board. But if you look at his fantasy production, he's producing the same as A.J. Brown, whose ADP is 29. So, when do you take this guy?
Well, Kelsey's numbers weren't as good as they were the year before last season. His numbers were a lot better. So his numbers went down a little bit, but obviously he is the best tight end in football. I mean, people are kind of I think you were going to ask me maybe at some point. A lot of people ask me, is it Kittle or Kelsey? It is Kelsey in the fantasy aspect.
Right.
And we'll get to Kittle because Kittle makes everything around him better. I love good blocking tight ends just as much as I love catching tight ends. I mean, those guys are your livelihoods. Guys like Vernon Davis, those types of bodies who can do so much around him. Of course, Kittle, just emotional, spiritual leader. Kelsey's still the number one tight end in the league, though. I don't think that's any question.
Now, here's the interesting thing is, and I had to double check this, is that he was actually third in points among tight ends. And the guy who was second, Mark Andrews with Baltimore. Now, there's been word coming out of Baltimore that they're trying to get Lamar Jackson to not run as much and to throw more. So if he starts throwing more, he's already got chemistry with Mark Andrews. How dangerous does that make Mark Andrews? And how much later can you get him if you either pass or miss out on Kittle?
You're not going to be able to get both. I mean, you're going to have to make a commitment on Kittle or Kelsey. But yes, Mark Andrews is there. He's up there. I mean, you're going to have to make an investment on one of those three. But Kittle and Kelsey are your hottest names, obviously. They have the, as we like to call it, the sexy value. So with those two, obviously they go 1-2, and then of course the next person's just going to get Andrews.
Yeah. Well, look, Professor, I appreciate your time with us. We're going to give a quick shout out to my boys down at Zia of Lafayette who are sponsoring the draft this year. We're going to have the live draft at Zia of Lafayette. I will be posting the results of that draft here on the channel. So everybody can laugh or admire however that it happens to fall. So if you are in the Lafayette area and you want some good food, go down and see see Heath and the boys down in Zia of Lafayette on Duce Road, right behind the movie theater in the front of Reds. You can reach them at 406-0013. They're still doing somewhat of a limited menu, but if you don't want to dine in, which we do have open dining room, they do have family bundles starting at $35. It's not bad to feed a whole family for $35, guys. They give you good food, good price, and look, try the grits. They're amazing. Okay, if I could walk around with a pocket full of Zia grits, I wouldn't have to pay for a drink anywhere in Lafayette. Trust me on this one. Okay. Hey, Professor Chet, I appreciate the time. We will see you next time, and maybe we can do a mock draft Monday at some point in time, and we'll put the professor's mock draft skills to the test and see what he can come up with. Guys, Chet, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
Not a problem. As always, guys, I am the Dean. You've been watching Fantasy Football Academy 2020. If you have questions, please hit me up. If you don't want to hit me up in the comments section, you can hit me up Fantasy Football Academy 2020 @gmail. Hit me up with questions, concerns, suggestions for future shows. My boy D Money actually hit me up, and we did a mock draft just for him. We're going to be doing one for my boy Greg as well. So down in the comments section, remember, subscribe, like, share down bottom, and put it out there. Remember, eye test, go with your gut, use stats for tools, not guides, and dominate your draft. Draft strong, and we'll see you next time. Fantasy Football Academy 2020. Later, guys.